All right, I'm going to go over the features of a typical vertebra. I have a representative of the cervical spine, the thoracic spine, and the lumbar spine to compare what they look like from the different regions. The body is the large round area where the intervertebral discs sit in between all the vertebrae of the spine, and they vary in size, small to medium to large, as you move through the regions. The vertebral arch is the arch of bone that is created, that creates the vertebral foramen and comes out of the body on one side and then arches over the top and goes back to the body on the other side. And it is specifically made of the pedicle, which reaches up from the body toward the transverse process, and the lamina, which runs between the transverse process and the spinous process. Then you have another lamina on this side and another pedicle on this side. Same position on all of the bones, no matter what region they're from. The lamina would be up here, the pedicle down here. Then the vertebral foramen is the large hole running through the center of the spine where the spinal cord sits. The transverse process on all three regions is going to project out horizontally, posterior to the body and the vertebral foramen. The spinous process is going to be the large projection in the center, which is posterior on the vertebrae, and you can palpate or feel the spinous processes on the back of your body from the outside, reminding yourself that those sit at the back. If I turn these around to face the camera a little better, projecting up above the pedicle, right at where the pedicle meets the transverse process in all three regions, there is a projection at the superior end of the bone, and in order to orient the bone properly, you want to make sure that the spinous process points downward. The projection sticking up right here, and right here is the superior articular process. And then one edge of the process is a smooth flat surface called the superior articular facet. If I flip any one of the bones over, facing the other direction, but in approximately the same spot, just projecting downward rather than upward, is the inferior articular process, and one smooth edge of that is the inferior articular facet. The intervertebral discs aren't here because they're cartilage and they break down, but they'll be represented by rubber or even a cottony material on the articulated spines. And then the intervertebral foramen is the hole that is created at the side of the spine where two vertebrae, and these don't go together that well or at all, but where two vertebrae come together, it creates a little hole, and these don't go together very well at all, but they give you the idea. So those are best viewed on an articulated spine as well, but you can see the notch when you look at one vertebra at a time. For the cervical spine, the unique feature that is identifiable are the holes that run right through the transverse process on either side. So one hole is called a transverse foramen, and if those holes are present, you know that the vertebra is from the cervical spine. There are two specific and special cervical vertebrae. C1 is called the atlas. It has no body and a very large vertebral foramen. C2, which is called the axis, is unique because it has this projection, which is actually the body that it stole from C1, and it is a projection called the dens that serves as an axis that gives it its name, around which the atlas is able to spin so that you can shake your head. The thoracic vertebrae are unique in the presence of the costal facets. Costal means ribs, so these are going to articulate with the ribs. The transverse costal facet is going to be out at the end of the transverse process on both sides. The superior costal facet is going to be where the body meets the pedicle at the upper end, and then the inferior costal facet will be where the body meets the pedicle at the lower end of the bone. Certain vertebrae, certain thoracic vertebrae will have only one costal facet called a whole costal facet. So if it only has one, that's the one that you're looking at. But if all three are present, they are the transverse costal facet, superior costal facet, and inferior costal facet to distinguish them from each other. Lumbar vertebrae don't have the transverse foramina that the cervical spine does. They do not have extra costal facets to articulate with ribs. The most identifying feature of them is that their spinous process is rather short and broad and stubby. So they're identifiable that way. Some folks also say that the thoracic vertebrae tend to look like the head of a giraffe, whereas the lumbar vertebrae tend to look like the head of a moose. And those are good kind of starting points in distinguishing between them, but then you want to look for the costal facets to verify that the thoracic vertebrae is from that region, or the lumbar short stubby spinous process to verify that that is from the lumbar region.